Hi there, this is Crystal, and I have another layout, and this one is just for fun today. I have two pictures that were taken on a recent trip of myself and my cousins, and I have a background that I already created. This is one that I created for the 100-day project, which if you were following along, I definitely did not finish. If you're curious about what I created, there is a saved story on my Instagram account. You can see all of the mixed media that I was playing with, but this is one of those pages. So I thought I would use this with these photos. I also have lots of bits and pieces from the Sunny Days collection. This is all just kind of left over from other projects that I've done. So I thought I would use up some of that. Also, there is a mowing crew outside my window, so if you can hear them, I apologize, but they may be loud here in a second. Okay, so I don't really know what else I'm going to do here. I'm just going to kind of play around, I guess, like usual, and see what I can come up with. So I'm going to start, as usual, by just picking some papers to layer behind my photo. And as you can see, most of what I have left of this collection is scraps. So I don't have a whole lot of full page sheets, but that's okay because I don't need full pages. I just need some small pieces that will fit behind my photos. So I've picked out 3 here that I think might work. My photos were taken on a boat, so there's lots of blues and teals in the photos, so I'm kind of going with those colors. That blue heart paper I think is my favorite from this collection. It's so simple, but I love it so much, both sides of it actually, and I do end up using a little bit of both sides on this spread. I did decide to matte my photos in white just because I felt like they needed some separation between that dark blue paper. They just didn't stand out enough on any of these papers. So the white border helps them just pop a little bit more off of all of these rich patterns. So I just kind of randomly cut this scrap of paper down to something that would fit behind both of my photos. None of the layers are going to be perfectly surrounding my photos. I'm just kind of roughly chopping some papers into a size that will fit across the page and will surround my photos, and they're going to kind of be wonky layers behind. This polka dot paper, I had actually cut some, punched some circles out of at the bottom. You can see there's holes there, but that's no big deal. I'm just going to cover it up with the other wonky layers, and you'll never know that I had actually cut up that paper already. So this is basically how the layers are going to go. I'm going to do lots of fidgeting with them before it's completely finished. And I have to be a little honest, I'm not 100% crazy with how this layout turned out. I like it, and I'm obviously keeping it, but looking back at my process, there were a lot of points along the way where I wish I had stopped. So for one, I wish I hadn't brought in that kind of mustardy yellow, or I guess it's mustardy yellow floral paper. I wish I'd left that off. Even though there's yellow in my background, I think there would be enough yellow in the embellishments that I add later on that would kind of tie that in. I really wish I hadn't added that paper. I mean, it's fine with it. I'm not going to tear it up. I'm not going to throw away the layout, but I wish I hadn't added it. And you may like it, and that's fine for me. I wish, like I said, I had just left that part off. I actually end up adding a bunch more layers like this, just kind of tucking in around the edges towards the end because something just wasn't sitting right with me. And again, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I had left things a bit more simple. I tend to be a simple scrapbooker, not always, but I tend to prefer simpler pages that are less busy and more streamlined, I guess. Maybe that's not the right word. I'm not sure what the right word is, but definitely less busy. And this ends up being a pretty busy page for me, so maybe that's why I'm not crazy about it. I do love these photos. I may actually end up scrapbooking them again. It doesn't bother me to do that, especially when I'm not super crazy about the page I created. So we'll see. For now, it's in my album, and I'm happy to have it scrapbooked. Okay, so I'm adding some foam behind my photos. This is just the typical fun foam you can get from any big box store. My tape runner doesn't like to work on it, so I add tape to the back of the photo and then add the foam to that. And then I use the adhesive that's on the foam. One side is adhesive. I use that to stick it down to the background layers when I'm ready to do so. So I'm going to start by sticking down this background paper. I do like it. I actually really like that it's kind of an off-white. That's typical for crepe paper to not have a stark white in their papers, and I kind of like that with the background. So I'm going to stick that down, and then I added it's actually the backside of a specialty paper. That's a gold foiled pattern on the backside of that kind of light minty green paper, but I wanted that minty color, so that's the side I chose. And then I added that little strip to the top while I was able to just tuck that in, and then the blue on top, and then the other little strips of that floral paper below. So you can see I didn't have enough of a scrap to fill in that entire length at the bottom, and I just used 2 different pieces and kind of stacked them together. You can't even tell that it's not one piece by the time I'm done. And now that I have those background layers in place, I can stick down my photos. So I just peel off the backing of that foam adhesive, or fun foam that is, and stick those down in place. I left that spot behind or below the horizontal photo for my title, which is what I'm going to work on next. So I have a sticker from the 6x12 sticker sheet that says Sunkissed, and I want that to be up level with my photos. I actually want it to overlap my photos, so be slightly higher. So I have these foam squares, and I just cut them in half so that they would fit on these tiny little letters, I guess, of this sticker. And then they're slightly taller, they're slightly thicker than the fun foam, so they're actually going to sit just up above my photo, which is exactly what I want. I ended up having to take a few off because I wasn't thinking that obviously it would be overlapped and I wouldn't want those in the way. But once I do that, I can just peel off all these tiny little strips of plastic on the back of these foam squares and stick that down right in that space I left for my title right below my photo. And I really like how that overlaps and just kind of tucks in there. It looks like it was made for it. So next up, I'm just going to start embellishing, and I go a little bit embellishment crazy. I'm going to start with this puffy sticker. It says enjoy the ride, and since we were on a speedboat on a lake, I thought that was pretty perfect for these photos. Also, that little girl on the floaty was meant for this page. I don't think there would be any other page I could possibly use that on. We did actually have a floaty and we're floating in the lake, so it made perfect sense to me. It does give me a little bit of trouble after I get it stuck down because it's so small in scale compared to the other embellishments that are on these sticker sheets, and especially the chipboard. Everything next to it just looks out of place. It looks too big. So I had to kind of struggle to find some smaller things to stick over there. But you'll see me try several things and end up just sticking with some of the smaller elements. So I did get a bunch of embellishments on the left side of my photos. I'm going to do the same thing for both sides. Just create little clusters of embellishments down the side of my photos. And again, this tends to add to that busy look that I am not super fond of, but I really wanted to get all these things on the page because I thought they were so cute and I thought that they were perfect for these photos. So that's what I did. And yeah, it's not terrible. It's not that, I hate it. It's just not perfect. It's not exactly what I was looking for. Anyway, enough talking about how much I am disappointed in this page. But so yeah, I'm just looking through all of these little embellishments and just trying to fill up all the spaces around my photo. In those, there were kind of borders of paper. I extended the paper to go well past my photo so that I had the space to do this, so that I had the space to layer up all these stickers and chipboard pieces. So I'm just trying to get a good balance of color, to get a good balance of size and shape as well, and for it to make sense. So that's why the umbrellas are kind of at the top, and then the swimsuit and beach ball and the sunglasses are above the swimsuit. It just made sense to me to do it that way. So once I had all of those on there, I felt like it needed a little bit more pink. That pink umbrella was just standing out. It was drawing my attention, and I didn't want it to do that. And I thought if I added a bit more pink elsewhere on the page, it would make that umbrella make a little bit more sense, and it wouldn't be so distracting. So I found some scraps, and I do mean scraps. These are tiny little pieces of pink paper that I had left over from other projects, and I'm just trying to tuck them in different places to see where I might be able to add a bit more of that pink color. The one at the top, that's staying there. I like the way that looks. I'm trying to find a place for this other one, and I don't end up finding one, but I think that actually works out. It actually ends up being enough. So there was a bit more space on the right hand side of my page. It wasn't quite balanced, and I thought like it also needed some more blue. There's a lot of blue on the other side of the page and not so much on the right side. So I thought I would just find a little strip of blue paper that I could tuck in that side to bring some more of that blue color over there. I tried some of those, that heart paper, but the piece that I had that fit, the hearts were going the wrong direction, and that bothered me. And the other piece, the hearts were going the right direction, but it wasn't long enough to fit. It was too short. So instead, I used some of this other paper with that blue color on it, and it actually already had a ripped edge, which I thought was perfect since I have some other ripped edges on the page already. So I just tucked that in on that side to bring in just a tiny bit of that blue color, which is really all it needed. And now I'm trying to find a place for this little yellow label. It's where I will end up putting my date eventually. And I want it in this top corner, but I couldn't get it to go behind the layers like I wanted to. So I had to fuss with it quite a bit. Eventually I got it down, and then I'm just going to go through the embellishments again and see if there's anything else I can stick on here. I'm really just trying to use up what I have here that actually applies to this page. I am a very literal scrapbooker, so I'm only going to use these things on pages that have to do with swimming and beaches and things like that. So there it is, pretty much done. I feel like the top and bottom are a little bit blank, so I'm going to do that thing that I always do. I'm kind of on a kick of this lately. I've done it on a lot of recent pages, but I'm just going to chop away a tiny little bit of the background and put some color behind it. So I'm going to use that same blue floral print and add a tiny little bit of it to the top. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. And I just distressed the edge of the cardstock that I cut away to make it a little bit more interesting, to give it a little bit more texture, just using the edge of my scissors and then my fingers to distress it a bit more. And then I just trimmed a little bit of this and add some glue to the back of the page and stick it down so that it's even and it looks like the page like it continues beyond the edge of the page. So that added just a little bit more of that color and made it feel just a bit more balanced to me. The last thing I have left to do is to add my journaling, and I'm just going to use my T-square ruler and draw a few lines right below my title and add just a couple lines of journaling with my gel pen. And that's going to be it. So there are some close-up photos coming up so you can see the finished product. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, I do appreciate a thumbs up. It lets me know that you like what I'm doing and that I should do more of it. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of the videos that I post. I try to post as often as I can when life allows. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you all back here soon.